Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 85 of Inside the Vault, a Carolina Panthers podcast. I am your host, Ryan Smith, and we are tonight doing here on Wednesday, start of October, October 1st, Miami Dolphins, Carolina Panthers preview for this Sunday coming up in Charlotte, North Carolina at Bank of America Stadium. Joining me previewing the Miami side of things, let's welcome to the podcast host of the DouglieDoWrong podcast and YouTube channel as well. Dolphins fans, you know him as DouglieDoWrong. Dougley, welcome to the podcast, buddy.
Pleasure being on, bud.
It's good to have you on, Doug. Let's get it right into this. Obviously, Dolphins coming off a short week. Both
Mm.
teams at 1-3. Um, But before I get into that, you said we were talking off the air. You're not located in Florida. I won't tell the guests where you're located, but you're not in the state of Florida. So explain how someone outside the state of Florida becomes a Dolphins fan. Or do you have Florida ties, or how did that come about?
Yeah, no, Jersey born and raised. My dad grew up, my dad was born in like 65, so he was like around 7 when they went, 72 undefeated and everything. So he grew up a Dolphin fan. And then I just watched him and I got to watch Marino play, and
Oh
that's
yeah,
how I became a Dolphin fan.
awesome. Well, you couldn't learn from a lot better quarterbacks than Dan Marino, obviously.
Exactly.
And so that's a good indicator there. Well, let's get into it specifically with the game on Sunday, Panthers Dolphins. We'll start kind of with the softball. 1-3, both teams, specifically with Miami. Just what are your thoughts on this 1-3 start on the season? Obviously, the Tyreek Hill news from Monday night is obviously a devastating blow for the Miami Dolphins. So, but your overall thoughts on the season thus far?
Disappointment, incredible disappointment, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They are not good on defense, and the funny thing is, going into the season, I expected struggles on the secondary because we don't have Jalen Ramsey anymore. We lose Javon Holland, and it's not the secondary; it's the front seven. It is really bad, especially we have pass rushers: Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, Chop Robinson. We have Zach Steeler in there, just not be able to get home on just the front four. The Dolphins are second in the NFL in blitzing, and they're around 30th to 31st in pressure rate. It's just not good with the front four. They are have a horrible time stopping the run. They are currently 30th in the NFL in rush defense.
Yeah.
So, that's to me where the biggest disappointment is if our defense would have continued off of how we ended last year as a top 10 defense, I think you're looking at a team that's possibly 3-1 right now.
Mhm.
But unfortunately we can't. And now we're sitting here at 1-3 and have to somehow turn it around.
Yeah. I mean, the Panthers kind of the same way. Let's be honest, like, um, first week was kind of, in my opinion, their preseason. You had a whole rain delay in Jacksonville as well, and
Mm,
first week was kind of a more like the preseason game four, because really the starters didn't play that third game. Arizona Panthers got behind early, two early turnovers, couldn't do that, came all the way back. Obviously, it recovered the onside kick, first time in 6 years someone's done that, but still fell short. Atlanta, we all know what happened there, 30-0 shutout win. Everyone's like, "Whoa, what did Carolina do there?" And then
mm,
last week the wheels kind of came off against New England. And that's on the road, and for whatever reason, the Panthers cannot win road games since 2023, essentially. And so, yeah, not a good start for Carolina as well. Though Carolina fans are typically used to that. We've had those starts for the last 3 to 4 years now. But still, based on where Price Young finished last year, I think the Panthers expected not to be 1-3 going into
mm.
this slate of games. So, incredible disappointment as well here in Carolina. But again, to some Carolina Panther fans, that's what they kind of expected, because that's how Carolina Panther fans, how we live our life here in Carolina. Um, but for the Dolphins specifically, as we kind of get into more of the matchup of things, who are some players to watch on both sides of the ball for the Dolphins?
Well, being that Tyreek Hill got injured, gruesome injury to his knee, dislocated it and had multiple torn ligaments in his knee. Jalen Waddle, obviously,
Yeah.
but Malik Washington, he is one of those receivers that is, if you saw the Dolphins in preseason, very good, very fast, very elusive. I could see him getting targeted more. Surprisingly, and again, I was one of the few Dolphin fans that was just like getting tired of waiting for Darren Waller so much. But then all of a sudden he
Yeah.
comes out, 2 touchdowns, even on recovers the onside kick. I'm like, all right. So, Tua does very well with tall receivers. He's a very accurate, high point passer. And Darren Waller's another guy, especially in the red zone, definitely look out for. I know Devon Achan is a name that everyone knows, but Ollie Gordon also, he's a very physical back
The rookie.
that
He's done well.
people really should pay attention to because he will get some, you know, yardage after, especially after contact. Defensive side, um, Rasul Douglas has been surprisingly good for me. He's had
Former Panther.
almost two interceptions. Um, and it's so funny. I can't really like I want to say Chop. I want to say Phillips.
Yeah, yeah,
They My problem with those two guys is they overshoot the quarterback. So they get there, but they just blast by him because they're so fast. Whereas Bradley Chubb, he's getting dominated on one-on-one blocks, and that's bothering me. And then we have Sealer, who's like 60% of the time he's getting double teamed. So it's like everyone else needs to step up. For me, it's the offense of the Dolphins that Panther fans should really be focusing on, because the defense, as of right now, they had a good fourth quarter against Buffalo, but outside of that, they really haven't been able to stop much. So definitely the offense.
on defense side of the ball, you mentioned Chop Robinson. Obviously, you've got Bradley Chubb. Who is that guy for the Panther fans if they're watching this their offense play this Miami defense that maybe that we should highlight and make sure he doesn't get going against our offense?
Um, I noticed that with the New York Jets, they were trying different things. Now, I know Young is somewhat mobile. He's kind of the same.
Underratedly mobile, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He's the same type of quarterback as Tua. They're not tall, but he is more mobile, and that is kind of where the Dolphins defense struggles is against these mobile quarterbacks. But if the Dolphins defense can somehow wake up and get pressure on Young, I think that is where the Dolphins defense and the Dolphins can start to pull away and hopefully a victory against the Panthers. Because you guys have given up a lot of sacks um, on offense. So,
Well, it's not
that
actually a lot. It's not actually the sacks. It's more the. It's funny. There's no turnovers the last two games or
mm,
at all. And we played better from the turnover perspective. And actually, the sacks. I think Patriots only got one sack. Like it's not the sacks. It's the indecisiveness on offense with play
mm,
calling with Dave Canales and then Bryce Young sometimes not being able to. He throws catchable balls, but the receivers aren't coming down with them.
yeah,
And so you're going to see a guy named Jimmy Horn Jr. former Colorado receiver who is going to add kind of that speed element, which is what the Dolphins are known for, obviously, even without Tyreek Hill. And so it's funny. Jalen Waddle and Bryce Young were teammates at Alabama, so
mm,
I'm excited to see that reunion. Obviously, a little pregame action there, but I'm excited for this game. Honestly, Doug, if we're being honest, these two teams are pretty similarly ranked, and
yeah,
this should be a very close game. If one of the team blows out the other should be very concerned, no matter who it is. If one of these teams blows out the other, it should be very. But I am worried as a Panthers fan and content creator. I will say the Dolphins' speed definitely does scare people. It's definitely a
mm,
thing, even without Tyreek Hill. I mean, yes, that does weigh it a little bit less. But Jalen Waddle is very much still a speedster, not Tyreek Hill speed, but still
yeah,
fast. And like Washington, like you said, but Darren Waller is who I think the Panthers should be number one zeroing in on because Panthers took for granted forever the Luke Kuechly's, the Thomas Davises of the world at linebacker, and we don't have that anymore.
mm,
Christian Roseboom, Trevin Wallace have been not good. Game
mm,
three against the Falcons, they were great.
mm,
Fine. Outside of that game, they've been not really good. So the tight ends have been feasting on the Panthers defense, and I think Darren Wallace is going to have the biggest day out of all the Dolphins. If Tua is smart, that's where he will go with the football. But that remains to be seen. Maybe Carolina will actually cover the tight end for once on Sunday, and force Tua to go elsewhere. What is your thoughts on as we get more into keys to the game? What is the key to victory for the Dolphins? We'll start first on the offensive side of the ball.
they have to run the ball and they have to stick with running the ball. The Dolphins' offensive line isn't great at pass blocking, but they are very good at run blocking. And there was a bunch of positive big plays on offense Monday night that involved play action. We had a lot of deep crossers from one from Hill, one from Waddle. It was the same exact play, and it was play action. Tua rolled out to his left, through a great pass. The second touchdown to Darren Waller, play action to the left, the whole defense bit, rolled out to his right. Darren Waller was, completely open. They need to stick with the run. They need to focus on the run. We are facing you guys who have the 12th ranked rush defense. So, no, sorry, the 23rd rush defense. You have the 12th best pass defense. So that's something they really, really need to stick with and focus with and not put it all onto his shoulders. Monday night played well, 2 touchdowns, no
I was gonna say
interceptions.
they though the Jets
Their defense
Dolphins
sucks.
almost gave away that game. Let's be honest, they almost gave it away. But we're not here to talk about the Jets. The one team that might be worse than both these teams. Uh, but yeah, yeah, I would say, and then for Carolina, I'm gonna say defensively, right? It's stop Devin A. Chain, make to a one-dimensional
Mhm,
from the defense side of the ball, and force him to throw it to. And I'll be honest, I think Waddle's going to get locked down by J.C. Horn. So I think it's going to come down to Darren Waller. Can we cover Darren Waller? Let's be honest.
mhm.
You can't get any worse than what the Panthers did last year in run defense, giving up the most yardage in franchise history against
Yeah.
the run, especially. So, yes, shockingly, that 23rd, Dougie, is actually an improvement from last year. We were 32nd in just about every category. So that 23rd is an improvement in Carolina. That 23rd may not look like a lot to Dolphins fans, but it is a stark improvement from
Hey, the
last
Dolphins are 30th in rush defense, so
year.
tell me about
Yeah,
it.
yeah. All right. Defensively, what do the Dolphins got to do to stop Carolina in this offense?
If it's not stopping the run, please, for the love of God, because the first offensive series for the New York Jets, they threw the ball once and they got it all the way down. And if it wasn't for the fumble that was caused on Braylon Allen, they would have scored throwing the ball once and running it every time. You got to get after the quarterback. I throw names at you that you would
Yep.
think, oh, even Judon. We have Judon as our fourth pass rusher. Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, Chop Robinson, Matthew Judon. You have Sealer, your first round pick, Kenneth Grant, and they can't get sacks. And that is a huge, huge, huge problem. So for me, defensively, that front has to play much better than they have all season. Got to stop the running. You have to get after Young and get sacks because, like I said, they are dead last in the NFL when it comes to getting pressure, but they are like second in blitzing. And, it only will work so far because you're compromising the back end of the defense by having to constantly blitz people.
Yeah. For Carolina, it's very simple. On the offensive side, start fast, like we did against Atlanta, like we even did against New England. For God's sakes, and then once you start fast, don't make a critical mistake on special teams or on offense turning over the ball. I mean, the last 2 weeks Carolina's done a great job at not turning over the ball, but special teams last week was the blunder, the reason why
Mm,
they lost that game. Instead of the first 3 weeks, special teams was great. So every week it seems like it's something different with this Carolina Panthers team. The identity of the team through 4 weeks is not quite known yet, which
mm,
again, not all teams have their identity figured out at this point yet because it's
yeah.
still only a quarter through the season. So, but yeah, that would be my key for the Carolina Panthers on the defense side of the ball. Let's go to something we're not talking about enough when it comes to and I'm going to say obviously specifically with the Dolphins. Obviously everyone knows about the Hill injury, everyone knows about Jalen Waddle, everyone knows about Devon A-Chain. Might be Daniel. Obviously people know about his reputation as a play caller going back to his days in San Francisco and the speed the Dolphins are known for obviously on the offensive side. What is something that people, maybe Panther fans listening to this episode and what they'll see on Sunday that we're not talking about enough, or maybe doesn't get enough credit, good or bad, when it comes to the Miami Dolphins?
Good question. Patrick Paul, actually, the left
Oh,
tackle.
talk about it.
Yeah, he's actually playing very well. Unfortunately, the guy to his right, who is Jonah, our second round pick, who I love that they traded up for, he's struggling a little bit, but again, he's a rookie, so
Yep.
I didn't, and he's playing out of position. He's normally a right guard. They're forcing him in left guard. Why? I don't know, but Patrick Paul is actually doing
Vigilant.
very well. And he is holding down that left tackle spot, because the right side of the line is just hot garbage. Whereas, the center and Patrick Paul, who was a second round pick a year ago, was actually doing very well. Obviously, he's not Teron Armstead,
No.
but he's definitely an improvement over what we would have had if we didn't have Patrick Paul. So that's a guy who, not a lot of people are talking about, but he's very effective and he's big. And, one of the things I learned about him during training camp is he's not a crap talker. He just laughs at people. And there was a joint practice with the Jaguars where um, one of the corners tried to blitz. He just threw him out of the way, and then the corner got up and kind of got in his face and tried to, and he just laughed at him and went back into the huddle. So it's like, imagine this like 6'7" man just laughing at you and then walking away from you. It's very demoralizing. So Patrick Paul is a guy that I'm very excited about his future and everything.
Yeah, I would say for Carolina, the Derek Brown is a name that the Miami Dolphins fans are going to know on Sunday if they don't know him already. He missed all of last season after tearing his meniscus in the first game of the season, in the first quarter rather, and so basically literally the entire year. This year, despite the results on some of the games that they've played in, he has looked like an absolute all-pro defensive tackle, and I would say, and I know I'm biased as I'm saying this, but probably a top five defensive tackle in the National Football League. And
Mm,
he is a scary dude. He just has what they call different strength. I played in the
mhm,
SEC, played at Auburn. Can just he took Chris Lindstrom, one of the best guards in the entire NFL, plays for the Atlanta Falcons, and just absolutely picked him up and moved him out of the all 22 viewing. It just like you that's not normal. Like you don't do
mhm,
that's not normal at all. So Derek Brown is playing. He's playing better than I even thought, coming off his meniscus tear from last year, and he is playing at another level that I think the Panther fans are obviously very happy about, and could use more of, if we're being honest, on the defensive side of the ball outside Derek Brown and J.C. Horn. And let's hope that this Panthers defense continues to turn it around and play like they did against the Falcons in week number 3. Because again, this next stretch of games is pretty winnable for Carolina. I'm never going to say they will win or should win. I'm just going to say
mhm.
they're winnable games. That's how I'd like to describe it. So, all right. Before we get into some predictions and everything else, kind of taking a little bit of a generic step back. When it comes to this Dolphins team, what does besides just this game on Sunday, what is the pulse of this team with Dolphin fans right now? I know you said disappointed is where obviously at the start of the season, but is Mike McDaniel, Chris Greer, are they still popular down there in Miami? Do fans like them? Do fans hate them? What is I mean, what does success look like this year for the Dolphins? Because 1-3 is not, 1-7. Like you still have time. Like
Uh-huh.
what's the success look like? Because it seems like right now the label for the Dolphins is you get to the playoffs, you get a cold weather game in the first round against someone like the Chiefs or Buffalo, and yeah, you can't win that one. And so until you do, it's kind of the reputation that precedes you, if you will.
Very, 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 very short leash with those two.
Yeah.
Um, Starting 0-3, even after the Colts game,
Okay.
they want out. That's it. You can't get blown out 33-8. You're week one, especially after the owner comes out with this letter in February saying status quo isn't good enough, and we're gonna, blah blah blah. We want to win, yada yada. And then you come out 33-8 and you just played horribly. 3 turnovers from Tua. The defense couldn't stop anything. It was just, yeah, no. At that point, everyone wanted them gone. And then they lost 2 more. And it's that it honestly, if they would have lost to the Jets, I don't think Mike McDaniel would be the head coach right now. Um, so it's still very short leashed. I think him beating the Jets kind of gave him a little bit more leeway. Greer just so this is what drives Dolphin fans nuts. Tyreek Hill goes down. He's out. His career might even be over. That's how bad the knee injury
I was
is.
going to say that's not an understatement at all, or
Yeah.
not an overstatement at all. Yeah.
And so the Dolphins go out. They bring in Cedric Wilson Jr., who was on the
Yep.
team last year. Not last year, 2023.
Mhm.
Knows the offense. And I just found out today that he will not be playing this
Oh,
week because he had a procedure done that he is rehabbing. So as a GM of the football team, your star receiver goes down, and your thought process is, let's add another receiver. Let's add a guy who knows the offense. Cool. Let me go get a guy who just had a procedure done and is rehabbing it. It's like the dumbest stuff you'll ever hear in your entire life. Like, so it's like at this point, a lot of Dolphin fans, like the only way these guys can save their job is if they win a playoff game. And, that's not happening, especially with the way the defense is playing. So, for a good portion of the fan base, we're just waiting for Chris Greer to get fired because he has been with this team as the general manager since 2016 and nothing's changed. he can't draft if his life. Well, like we just cut Cam Smith, who like was a second round pick not too long ago. It's just like
No,
he's
no,
got to
no.
go.
Let's actually. I was trying to remember who I forgot to include in my notes. That's exactly who I was going to talk about was Cam Smith, former University of South Carolina cornerback J.C. Horn. His teammate from South Carolina. They were
Mhm.
actually roommates at one time. Um, Talk to me about Cam Smith. Was he? Is he someone the Panthers are going to go pick up here before the game? Is he good? Is he not good? What's his story?
He has it's like a mentality issue with Cam Smith. Like he has the physical traits, but
Yeah.
it's like the off the field. He was projected to be a first round pick, and he fell to the second because of the off the field stuff, because of the
I see.
the
Yeah,
taking
yeah,
it
yeah. Probably was
seriously.
the. Yep.
Um, he just couldn't pull it together. And he had a presser in the off season during training camp, and somebody asked him if you could go back over the past 2 years and do anything different, would you? And he said no. And it's like, why did they let him answer that question? So it's, he'll probably end up on a practice squad, and someone will see if they can do something with him. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up back on the Dolphins practice squad because Greer doesn't like to give up on his mistakes. But yeah, no, he if they redrafted that draft, he probably goes in like the fourth, fifth round.
Yeah, yes, we'll see. Teams like to bring in former people of opponents they're facing just before the game, just to kind of get some knowledge out of them. We'll see if that ends up happening. But I found the storyline intriguing since Horn and him have a connection back in their days at the University of South Carolina. All right, let's get into some predictions and kind of how this game is gonna go. So this is what I'm thinking here with Carolina. Carolina obviously has been very up and down this season. Every game has really been different, to be honest with you, Dougie. There's been just every game has had something different,
Mhm.
and so they're very difficult to predict. I think the Panthers are somewhere between the team that lost last week, 42-13 New England, and then won 30 to nothing against Atlanta. Somewhere in between there
Mhm.
is the 2025 Carolina Panthers. Was it closer to which one? I don't know. And so I think being at home helps the Panthers. Dolphins coming off short weeks. Tyreek Hill obviously with this season injury, but Tyreek Hill, or I'm sorry, Darren Waller. Like I said earlier, they found themselves their tight end there, and Panthers don't cover tight ends to save their life. The run game with A Chain is good. The Panthers are going to have to limit that. Um, and they're gonna have to run Chuba Hubbard a lot against this
Mhm.
Dolphins defense. Make Bryce Young open up the play action down the field. I give Carolina the slight edge because we're at home, and basically about it. So I have the final score of this game. A lower scoring, depending on which may or may not bode well for either team. But I've got a final score being 24-20. Carolina with the victory. What say you? What does your gut tell you on this one?
So the Dolphins very easily 2 plays away from them sitting here being 3-1. You know, Tua marching down the field against Buffalo throws the interception very easily, and even the field goal, the block punt running into the kicker
Yep.
from Sealer definitely killed that. And then you have the Patriots game where again Tua throws an interception. There was 2 games spread the ball around, and do what they need to do, get the ball out quickly, utilize screens and everything to kind of counteract the bad play on the offensive line. I think it's the defense. I think this defense needs to wake up. I think they need to be more physical. Will they? I don't know. But I predicted that the Dolphins were going to win 27-24 against the Jets. I was kind of close with that one.
Yep.
I think it's going to be in the same vein with the Panthers. I think again, same like you. I don't know if this Dolphin defense can really stop anything. So I think it's going to be a close game. I'm going to give the nod to Miami around the same. I'm going to say 24-20.
Okay. All right. That's good. Not surprising. We both go with our with
We got it, man.
yeah.
We need it.
We got it. We need it even more. But you guys at least have tasted the playoffs the last few years. The Panthers have not done that. And so, um, Oh my gosh. This team is just so hilarious. Both of us kind of struggling into that 1-3 zone. And so obviously both teams need this very badly. Let's before we get out of here and just kind of wrapping up and again my podcast partner tonight has been DouglieDoWrong from the Miami Dolphins podcast. And Dougie, thank you so much for coming on here on Inside the Vault. As we close down here on episode 85 of Inside the Vault, um, Dougie, what is kind of just the nuts and bolts of it for this game? Uh, if the Dolphins do pretty much everything wrong, but one thing goes right, and that is the reason the Dolphins win this game, what will it be?
Defensive line.
Defensive line.
If
Okay.
if everything falls apart, but the Dolphins are able to consistently stop the run and consistently sack Young, I think they still win. Um, because that's what it really is going to come down to is, we need to force stops, we need to force punts, we need to force turnovers. Monday was the first time all season the Dolphins got any turnovers on defense, and we got three. So, if we can continue that trend and force these turnovers, I think they still win regardless of what happens on offense.
That made me think of one last question. Anthony Weaver, current defense coordinator down there in Miami, if for whatever reason, if the team were to move on from Mike McDaniel at some point this year, is Anthony Weaver a future head coach down there? I really enjoy him from his time back in Baltimore. Seems like he's really kind of not gotten a fair shake down there with some of the personnel there. I'm really intrigued about Anthony Weaver and your thoughts on him.
Yeah, he's super liked among the coaching staff, super liked among the players. He seems to be that front runner. A lot of fans are kind of cooled down on that, especially watching how bad the defense has been doing. And again, if it was a situation where we were getting beat in the secondary, but we were consistently getting pressure, then I think a lot of people would start to give Weaver a little bit of slack because, Greer kind of screwed him in the secondary department.
Yep.
But it's the fact that it's his bread and butter, it's the defensive line that is struggling, that a lot of people are kind of cooling down on giving him that interim head coach position. But I think, yeah, if they move on from McDaniel, I think Weaver is the guy who's going to get the nod because he can command that team. And I think that's the biggest thing that they need right now.
Well, here on Inside the Vault, episode 85, Dougley Do Wrong has been my guest today. Both of us predicting 24-20 victories for our teams by that exact score. Dougley, where can people find your podcast, your YouTube channel, and anything else that they need to know?
YouTube.com/DouglieDoWrong. You could find me literally anywhere if you Google Dougley Do Wrong. It is such a strange name that you can find it anywhere. I also do a show with TD Finch Talk, Omar Kelly, and Alan Poupar called the Dolphins Collective. You can also find that on YouTube. And I'm in the works with Teron Armstead, trying to do something with him as well. So I got a few things in the works.
Awesome. Well, Dudley, thank you so much for coming on Inside the Vault, previewing Dolphins Panthers. Again, coming up on Sunday, 1 o'clock at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll see you guys next time.